For a business to be sustainable, it needs to maintain profit potential, and all efforts should be aimed at balancing all opportunities, resources, and the team. While the founder or CEO is at the heart of the process, he needs to balance all three of these elements for the business to stay in operation. An example for an industrial firm would be example to keep all your clients and all your staff happy by charismatic leadership, and then also to maintain machinery, to keep the resources going so that production can stay seamless without any breakdowns or bottlenecks. The next thing I have in my theoretical review for my Masters in Business is the initial losses by a firm and the product life cycle. What happens is you have a graph with your time as your horizontal axis, and then your percentage of loss as your vertical. What happens is in a number of years you lose capital, and then suddenly you start earning at a turning point. And this is the profit area. The right side of this graph is the profit area where you start to make money. But at this turning point, you will be approximately at 2.5 years. So it takes a lot of time to start and to grow a business. And a lot of people do not realize this, and they do not have enough capital available. At each stage of the product life cycle, the strategy changes. For example, you have your initial startup phase, and then your growth phase, and then your maturity and decline phase. And at each one of these stages of the business life cycle, which can be a number of years, even up to 100 if you take Coca-Cola for example, your strategy needs to change accordingly, according to where you are in your business. The company also needs to apply pricing strategies, location strategies, and other elements of a successful opportunity. Managing a business is like a paradox where you have to balance a seesaw so that everything can be in balance to optimally utilize resources for ultimate success. Not only are applied business theories important, but also the fact that a company takes calculated risk, and they need to have a measure of luck in their operations and then adapt to change when this risk is eventually experienced. Being an entrepreneur in South Africa is very difficult. Even with the right machinery, people and ideas, a business can fail due to cash shortages. And small businesses, after the recessionary environment, need not only to try and build capital for profitable future needs, but they struggle to utilize current funds and struggle to gain new funds and tenders. Even when a company gains a government tender, they sometimes wait for a year or two to receive the funds, with devastating cash flow effects. Resources in the South African context is also a problem because of this limited funding. There are corrupt officials, there are limitations due to low-rated PE companies who cannot obtain funds even with joint ventures and partnerships, and there is no loophole for acquiring funds for these SMEs, and it's therefore difficult for these businesses to operate with difficult access to resources. Revenues and earnings must sustain ongoing business success, and profit must be used to promote future growth. This is a simple description of what is sustainability. A few business textbooks describe sustainability as the promise on delivering on future prosperity, like Timmons, for example, new venture creation. And then sustainability can also mean that a resource should not be utilized at a faster rate than it's replenished at. Sustainability is the bedrock of entrepreneurship and therefore successful business management. The Timmons book also explains that the world is constrained by capacities of natural systems to adapt to our activity. And the major challenge is to create prosperity for more people worldwide, given all kinds of problems like population growth and pollution, water shortages, energy supply problems, and all of these. But ironically enough, these are the starting points of entrepreneurship. Let me quickly abbreviate the Timmons model a bit more. You have your resources, team, and opportunity, and right in the middle is your business plan, which fits the gaps. And then obviously the founder must create sustainability for the environment, community, and societies alike. And for this business to be successful, there needs to be communication, there needs to be leadership, and there needs to be creativity from all three sides for the opportunity, resources, and team to be utilized successfully. And then with the resources, there are external forces. There's uncertainty, and ambiguity, and there's the capital market context. The creativity again, there must be communication between the opportunity and utilization of resources, and leadership for the team. There are 5 generic competitive strategies. There's a low-cost provider, this is where you try to have the lowest cost possible for consumers, but you focus on a large market. Then you get a broad differentiation. And this strategy, you focus on a large number of buyers, but you try to make your products different from your rivals. Then you get a focused low-cost strategy. This is where you focus on a narrow segment of people buying your products and you outcompete your rivals on costs. Then you get a focused differentiation strategy where you also focus on a narrow buyer segment, but you appeal to your market by making your product different once again. Finally, you get a best value. This is where you give more value for money by offering nice product attributes at lower costs than your rivals. You can be, for example, a car manufacturer and you have better services and your service plan period or your guarantee period is longer than another car company. But you can also have a hybrid where you combine any of the above. Besides strategy, the company needs to apply ethics and social responsibility. Let's look at the opportunity. For a real opportunity, consumers need to realize their need. And for this opportunity to be sustainable, it needs to be attractive, durable, and timely. The Timmons model has 4 elements for a successful opportunity. Firstly, the value proposition, which is realizing this need. Secondly, the opportunity should meet a specific want or need. Thirdly, it should have attractive returns. And then finally, there must be a good fit between the team and the market. It makes no sense to have the wrong people for the wrong job. There are different ways to be on top of the next best opportunity. Let me give you an example. Using creativity, you can combine 2 types of words. Let's say mirror and computer. So you can have a mirror that's a computer. But there's various other ways like borrowing from existing products, combining 2 businesses into one, recognizing any possible fads, improving the function of your existing products, meeting your need in a different way, imagine how the market can be expanded, and new technologies. Research from the US has shown that other cultures other than white people have better business success rates, and they have the following reasons for that. It is the fact that they have a longer learning curve. their parents might have a business, and they might learn and learn and learn and learn and learn more over much more years than a white person. And then the fact that they have alternative employment while they start this business to fund the business, for example, where the white business has maybe a lot of resources and the resources get depleted, and there's no way to, over a long enough time, get the business going. So it's interesting to note that with even less skills, resources, and profits, the business can last longer or be a success. The textbook of Moore, Managing Small Business and Entrepreneurial Emphasis, the 4th edition, suggests that there are 2 ways of analyzing an opportunity. You get the inside out and the outside in. The outside-in analysis comprises of your general environment, which is the pest, which is the political, the economical, the social-cultural, the technological, and the environmental or the global environment, as well as Porter. This is the one on the degree of competition, with new competitors, substitutes, rivals, and suppliers and buyers. The inside out comprises of resources, capabilities and core competencies. Capabilities being how you can deploy resources to be to your advantage, and core competencies is those resources and capabilities that you can have to create an advantage above your rivals. You can integrate the external and internal environments with the SWOT analysis, where you can create a table and mix your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Weaknesses, opportunities and threats, to know exactly what you can do in your company. You can, for example, utilize a strength to be able to utilize opportunity, or you can utilize opportunity to overcome a weakness, and so forth. But where these internal and external factors come together is the entrepreneur's area of opportunity, and it's also called the sweet spot. The next element of Timmons is the resources, and this can be either finances or it can be intellectual capital. I'm drawing a brain now, like for example your lawyers and your accountants and directors, your business model or idea, and so forth. And it can also be your plant and your equipment which you then utilize. One needs to minimize resource usage at each stage of production, but also obviously in the product life cycle. And this is called bootstrapping, according to Timmons. Large companies, however, have enough resources in the product life cycle to, when times get tough, when profits drop, to support themselves, to pick themselves up from this bad situation. You need to have enough resources for each task that you want to complete. The basic rule of finances is to have more of your own money than that you borrow. Businesses that then generate cash much faster are also seen as less risky than others. Businesses not only need to manage their funds effectively, but they need to realize that somewhere in the future there can be a risk. Let's say there's a flood. Suddenly, they need to rebuild their plant. And anything can happen in between. Market conditions can go up and down. And the business needs to adjust accordingly. It needs to have efficient cash and cash management and contingency plans for these possible issues that can arise. Financial issues are about the value pie. Creating this amount of profit that is left after all these issues and problems. Slicing the pie, therefore covering all your risks. A company's particular recipe is sometimes reinforced by its success, and this can ultimately lead to its failure as well. This recipe of yours, these ways of doing things which you've learned over a number of years, could change. It could be the wrong way of doing it now. It can be your network of external relationships, your capital equipment, anything like that. And sometimes a business eases into a comfort zone where there's a lot of inertia, a lot of things that aren't actually the right way of doing it, the wrong recipe, and the business will then become obsolete. Their performance declines and their salvation ultimately has a problem. And then it would lead the business to go to low-cost provider strategies with tighter financial controls, better working environments, and even these strategies can only create temporary recoveries. And then once the slack is consumed, the business will go down some other time. General management needs to be in tune with their products. They need to manage their people. They need to be there. They need to be on the floor making the decisions instead of only strategizing and not seeing that the strategy is implemented. That's one of the biggest problems with bigger and larger organizations. One of the big negatives of them. But this is to the advantage of the small firm. The core business mission and vision is to establish unwritten ground rules for the business. Capital requirements and education and experience are two parallels. Capital and education and experience. Since effective resource allocation needs effective decisions to be made throughout the value chain activities. An example can be to effectively manage finances for purchase and supply management, especially in production companies, since uneducated decisions can cause income problems and stocking supplies can be a problem at a time of a stock out. The business cannot use all its resources. It needs to keep some of its money to buy more stock while it's selling much of the stock that it still has, and it cannot keep too much stock as well. The team is also the success at each stage of the product life cycle, where the different strategy and transitions needs to be applied effectively. Influence and teamwork is very important. And out of this, some business heroes can come to the forefront. Some people who have made it, who are the successes of the company, the leaders. And these leaders need skills such as marketing, operations, production, etc., etc. To establish successful teams, one needs to anchor these philosophies and attitudes through the vision. You need to have these unwritten ground rules for business, for the success of the company. One also needs integrity and cohesion, as well as a mindset and commitment to value creation for the long term. According to an Indian article, small companies in the third world need to take action step by step. Instead of just trying to do everything at once. They must try and partner and get vendor support and maintain good relationship with suppliers. And they need to find the right employees, which is very difficult due to the shortage of skills. But it's a key success factor in the third world, with capabilities such as engineering and IT. And then the development of new products. Need to take place in collaborative, cross-functional teams. The different divisions need to work together. The finances and the general management. And many of these departments need to start working together. But they also need to get that intellectual property rights. A lot of good ideas come out of these third world countries like Africa, and then large companies from overseas steal them, and they then make the money these African guys can create themselves, which is very sad. The Global Entrepreneurship Monitor says that many small businesses lack business savvy. So they recommend that there should be an increased attention to educating their individuals with a lack of this business know-how by means of new venture creation, courses. There needs to be encouragement and this can be in school and for graduates with critical thinking needs that they don't have, which needs to be implemented. They need to be trained business skills even from primary school level. But government does have various programs like CEDA and THRIP. The Small Enterprise Development Agency and the Technology through Human Resources and Industry program. And then there's also a problem with a lot of government policies. These policies limit entrepreneurs with policies like BBEEE and strict legislation, and these policies don't actually do what they actually intended to do, and that is to increase the number of previously disadvantaged to the workforce. There must be a small business champion or role models for others to look up to from these communities within the firm, and this needs to have a strategic intent. There needs to be these heroes in companies, within government and also within corporations. And the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor also suggests that there should be a one-stop shop for training. There should be one place where these entrepreneurs can go. There are too many organizations, and this confuses general society. No one knows where to go to, and you need to approach each organization differently. And there needs to be a larger emphasis on linking businesses. Different businesses can link together and they can add to each other's core competencies, or their competitive advantages can support each other, even if it's a large and a small organization. And then these small businesses need to find loopholes for the BEE and other legislations in South Africa. That's why the business needs to combine the opportunity analysis while also considering the legislative stumbling blocks. They also say that there should be alternative tools for analyzing the acquisition of funds by SMEs. Because it's difficult for these businesses to operate without resources, and many officials are corrupt, and there are limitations to lower rated BE companies and joint ventures and partnerships who are even linked together, but they do not get the resources they need because they are not ranked correctly. There's too strict legislative issues for these type of companies. And then there needs to be research and innovation. by universities in the field of business management, but also engineering and innovative new products and designs. Please subscribe.